bound to be some great finals, some great racing, and then it only gets better once you get the crews mixed in from all the different regions at the Youth Nationals in Sarasota. So in a few weeks here, again, they will all be meeting up with foes from around the region, around the country again, and we'll likely see, again, a lot of their compatriots here from the Northwest region. So it will be very fun to follow them again in a few weeks.
Yes, indeed. And so we've got some more foes throwing bows out there in the women's youth double sculls A final on the field. We just watched them ricochet their way down the course today, and they are probably, here we go. We've got our drone screen live. They're almost 3 minutes into their race, coming up on that 1,000-meter mark. You see the big buoys off to the top right of your screen. That is the 1,000-meter marker. And in our lanes right now, we've got Lane 1, Seattle Prep. Lane 2, Rogue. Lane 3, Oregon Rowing Unlimited, my favorite for this race. Lane 3, Eugene. Lane 4, Seattle Prep. And Lane 5, Seattle Prep. And Lane 6, Pocock Rowing. Here we go. We've got our drone in the sky, and oh me, oh my, we've got a heavy race for the minor medals, but it looks like Oregon Rowing Unlimited is walking away with a big lead right now in that gold medal position.
Yeah, they're really trying to secure that, and they were the winners last year of this event, so it is theirs to lose. It is their title to defend, led by Zola Young here in lane 3 in that Oregon Rowing Unlimited boat. We also look over towards Rogue Rowing, who got 5th in this event last year, so we do have some new contenders mixed into this grand final that didn't necessarily race this last year. So very fun to see some new blood, some fresh blood in the women's youth double here in the A final.
Super exciting. And it's worth noting that that Zola has actually committed to Penn. She is going to be part of the Penn class of 2028. Super exciting. I know 2 or 3 rowers from Pocock that row at Penn currently and just have great things to say about the program. So it seems like the Penn women's program is really eating up a lot of the great talent in our Pacific Northwest here, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, that's right. It looks like we do have our clear leader still, Oregon Rowing Unlimited, followed very closely by Rogue Rowing, if I'm not mistaken here, who did get that 5th place position last year. So again, they are still in the mix. Then we look over to what looks like Seattle Prep and Pocock on the outside, if I am not mistaken, up there on the top of your screen.
I think that might actually be Eugene at the top. Or no.
No.
Sorry.
We have Eugene in lane 4 here.
Okay, Eugene's in 4. My bad.
That's right. That's okay. The glare of the sun sometimes catches us off guard. That's all right.
You're too gracious.
We do our best. We do our best here. We have, so we do actually have Pocock on the end there now that we pull our drone back and we have all boats on our screen again. Okay. So this is a very tight race against Seattle Prep and Eugene right there in that mix for the 2nd place position after Oregon Rowing Unlimited.
It seems as though we are going to have a good race for bronze and silver developing.
I think we already do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As we come across the 1,000-meter mark here, the women's youth double, again, we will keep our eye on Oregon Rowing Unlimited, who right now is showing us how it's done. Incredibly long rowing here. I really want to point out, if you are looking at your screen right now, this is incredible rowing that we are seeing right now. Very, very patient as they come towards the front, which means they're getting their hands away first, then they're getting their bodies over, and then their knees are coming up together, and they're doing it in exactly the same time here. And that really takes a lot of skill, takes a lot of time in a boat to do this well with your pair partner. So we are 6 minutes, 14 seconds into this race, and we are already seeing these women come in through the last 500. This is a very, very impressive performance. Just for some scale here, I hope you guys can appreciate how impressive this performance actually is, not only in time, but in finesse and the length of the strokes that these women are taking.
Yeah, and missing very little water with that as well. To get so long and have that precision in your timing of catches, to get the oars in and miss no water and really maximize each stroke is exceptional. But we are looking at a 2-time national champion in that double. Zola Young has quite the pedigree to her name in her senior year. They won the quad sculls at the national championship last year in astounding fashion. So this is a really, really confident crew And they've got a lot of speed. And right now, they're really probably just preparing for Florida, trying to figure out what works best for them for the national championship to come next month. And wow, it's showing. This is just an excellent
Yeah, you see a confidence in this kind of mentality. When they showed up, they knew today that they were going to do well, and I think that really speaks volumes to the skill and the confidence, not only coming from their coaching, but the time in the boat and the comfort level here. Because this looks to me, we'll see if they decide to bring the rate up just a little bit again, just to kind of put an exclamation point on it and have a great race for themselves. Execute the race that they came out to race today. So we will see. Looks like they're bringing it up just a little bit here, but again, a little bit later because they're not being challenged.
Yeah, but still, a nice-looking sprint out of them. And it looks like the second and third place positions.
Lane 5 and lane 4 coming in next.
Looks like they are handily held.
Seattle
I don't think
Prep.
we're going to see any shifts there.
Seattle Prep and Eugene. There we go. Seattle Prep coming across the line now in that bright blue, followed by Eugene Rowing Club. Followed by lane 2, Rogue Rowing. And then rounding out the field again in quite the showdown here, lane 6 and 1, Pocock and Seattle.
Yeah, Pocock really brought it up there at the end. That was some good sprinting from them.
That's right. Well, no matter what place you finish in a race, I think it's important to execute the race that you came out planning to execute, whether you're first or last. Put your sprint in if you need to, if you have to, if you can. Obviously, the Oregon Rowing Unlimited didn't necessarily need to potentially do their entire sprint because they weren't necessarily challenged and they had secured that spot. But again, it is never over until it's over. So I am a firm believer in executing the race that you come out with, that you intended to race.
Yeah.
So.
And as your resident meteorologist, it behooves me to mention that the wind is picking up a little bit. We are almost at a 7-mile-an-hour crosswind. It is almost directly cross, slight diagonal angle on our rowers today. And the weather forecast does look like it's going to pick up with the rain a little bit through the afternoon. We might see some gusting as well. Hopefully it won't be huge, but it's definitely going to be a factor, especially as the winds, I think, are going to get into the 12 to 15 mile an hour range towards the last races of the day. So we'll see how that affects the things. Right now we're about to hit the B final with the women's youth double event. These are our double sculls, and it's a B final with 6 boats competing. And it looks like those boats are in lane 1, Olympia area rowing, lane 2, Renton Rowing Center, lane 3, Bainbridge, lane 4, Vashon, lane 5, North Cascades, and lane 6, Everett. And I just have to say, these double sculls races have been just the cream of the crop here. This past half hour or so of racing has been some of my favorite all weekend. We've seen some really close races. We've seen some kind of regional rivalries unfold, but we've also seen some great sportsmanship and a lot of congratulations from one boat to the next. And there they go. They're off. We see the B final of the women's double sculls event. All right, and our drone just took off after a quick battery change, so we're going to get you some pictures from overhead here briefly. As we stare down the course right now, I'm not really seeing... Actually, I do think I see one race leader coming from... I think I see lane 2. Nope, too hard to tell. Our perspective is not crystal clear, so I don't want to lead you astray. But wow, that looks like a close race. Ooh, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's right. So let's lay things out for everybody here just a little bit as we pull our drone up alongside all of these crews that we're looking at here in lane 1, again, Olympia area rowing. And I'm going to say, let's see, right next to them, Renton Rowing. So those 2 boats are trailing just a little bit. Couple boats open water. I'm going to say 2 to 3 boats open water on that one. But the race here are the top 4 crews that, again, are in that lead. And that will be Vashon Island, followed very closely, and I mean by inches, followed by Bainbridge, North Cascades, and Everett. So we are seeing all 4 boats connected Still seeing Vashon Island, led by Laurel Calhoun. And these two have actually rowed together for quite some time. So they've been rowing together since novice year. So these two have spent some time in the boat together. And right now it is definitely showing. So we're seeing some very nice rowing here from Vashon. But challenging them just on the inside here is definitely Bainbridge, led by Adeline Carlton. And then we jump to the outside, Everett rowing in lane 6. Followed very closely by North Cascades, led by Aaron Cruzen. So again, all boats overlapped in some way here, but we do have our leaders, Vashon Island, opening up water just a little bit on our 4th place boat, and actually potentially our 3rd place boat right now. Actually, as I speak, they are starting to walk away again, just picking up the power a little bit. Doesn't look like the rates necessarily came up, but you're going to see those puddles start to get pushed back just a little bit more, which means they're adding just a little bit of gas to the pedal here. They know that they are keeping a very, very close eye on that Bainbridge crew on the inside.
Yeah, props and shouts to that Everett crew on the outside up there at the top of your screen. They have walked through North Cascades within the past 300 meters of this race, and it looks like they're actually gaining. It looks like they have contact now with the silver medal crew, and I think I see Everett starting to get some speed going for this last final 500 meters of the race. They just passed that buoy threshold.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. And you know what? I'm keeping my eye on this Bainbridge crew here too, led by Adeline Carlton again in lane 3, because look at the patience here. Yeah. I love this. This is what I call a slow burn here. So yeah, there you go. See the bow seat look over there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep, she peeked over there, just keeping an eye on Vashon. I think that shows a little bit of confidence here. They're keeping their rate fairly low, but adding a little bit of power. But they know that if they have enough real estate that they may be able to claw through that Vashon boat, but it depends on what this Vashon boat does to respond.
Yeah, it looks like they are starting to eke into that Vashon lead. Vashon had open water at one point, but now it looks like seat by seat, there's a little bit of
I think inch by inch
worry,
here.
yeah.
I mean, this is a slow crawl. It's a slow burn. Look at that bow seat looking back at the finish line again, just peeking over her shoulder, but also keeping an eye on Vashon. And I'm seeing this slow burn here. I think this might work for them. As they come into the red buoys now, both crews, bow ball to bow ball, are both going to bring it up here. So again, this is where one of these crews has to be brave.
Yeah, I think that Vashon just found their sprint. I think that they're bringing it up. Will it be enough to maintain that lead? They're in the red buoys. There is about 200 meters left to go. We're going to see. That's about 20 strokes, folks.
Oh, that's right. She is looking around her shoulder like, where is that finish line?
Yeah.
Please. But that Vashon boat, again, walking away just a little bit,
yeah,
bringing
they found
their
some
stroke
extra
rate up.
speed just when they needed it. I didn't know if they were going to get walked through, but I think they had another gear all along. And now they are getting there. They are almost there. They're about 7 strokes away. And while it appears as though they're being challenged,
unbelievable.
Yeah, I think that Vashon's gonna hold on. No! Wow, I think Vashon got walked through just in the last 3 or 4 strokes of that race. I'm not sure, gang.
If that, I think we're going to need the photo finish on
Yeah,
that.
I think my angle was just a little bit off, and I don't want to lead anybody astray, but I will compliment the heck out of those boats, because wow.
Well, coming in lane 6, and then followed by lanes 5 and 1. That is North Cascades and Olympia area rowing.
I think that might have been our closest finish of the day.
I think that was pretty exciting here. So we will see, again, once we get our times populated on the screen for that photo finish that was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff you guys miss if you're not standing down on the beach making noise for these crews, because they can absolutely hear you out there. It makes a huge difference.
Looks like it was potentially Bainbridge for the W.
Bainbridge for the win.
Wow, that's astounding to walk through Vashon like that. And that couldn't have been more than a fraction of a second separating those two. So I think that we're going to get official times on our screen eventually. But right now it does look like we had Bainbridge just barely pip Vashon. Heartbreak central for Vashon. That's got to be so savage to experience. But at the same time, you know, they rode a great race. I thought that when they brought their sprint up that they'd shut the door on that aggressive Bainbridge sprint. But we are right now looking at our... it's regatta.time-team.com, and it looks like, oh my goodness. Yeah, it looks like Bainbridge is unofficially holding that gold. And we hear some shouts from the shore. Way to row, Bainbridge. Love to see the support. It means so much to everybody. Yeah, our next race is going to be the women's double sculls C final with 3 boats in it. We're still waiting the official results of that last one, the B final. Might take a couple more minutes to get to us, but
yeah, that's right. And while we do that, why don't I at least give you the lanes here for the C final, let them take off. And again, we'll let that race just kind of come down the course just a little bit while we get situated. We do have a little bit of time. This is a 3-boat race. Lane 3, Lake Oswego. Lane 4, Eastside Prep. And lane 5, Rogue Rowing.
yeah, some nice looking rowing already here from these doubles. And they're tightly packed for being almost, I think that they're actually halfway through. Now, I think that they're just passing those 1,000-meter mark buoys there in the red. And yeah, this is a pretty good race developing for us. Still trying to get some official times for that last race. Boy, my heart was in my throat when I saw the finish there.
Right, and here in this race for the C final, we have Eastside Prep in the lead, about bow to stern on Lake Oswego, or excuse me, Rogue Rowing on the outside, which is also still connected to Lake Oswego. So we do have Lake Oswego and Rogue Rowing still connected and overlapping almost bow ball to bow ball here in this second place position, trailing Eastside just a little bit. It looks like Eastside has been able to shake the bow balls away from those other 2 crews. But again, as we say, it is not over until it is over because anything could happen. So your spot is never secure until you cross that finish line and hear the horn. And we're seeing it now on the outside. Lake Oswego trying to overtake Rogue Rowing here. Little bit of a higher rate. So we'll see if that pays off for them again in this third 500 when it starts to get a little bit tough, when that fitness kicks in, when you start to lose a few brain cells and you have to go on autopilot. Can you keep it together? So it becomes very difficult to do that in the third 500. That's why you have to train yourself to really have a strong autopilot. So when you start to lose those brain cells, your legs are on fire, you start to lose a little bit of your capacity to go harder and harder is when you do. So we want to make sure that we are staying fit and focused for that third 500. And again, that is what we are seeing here from Lake Oswego Rowing, doing a really good job of kind of watching Rogue Rowing on the outside and being able to bring the stroke rate up here just a beat or so. So I actually just watched them bring the stroke rate up just a little bit. You can tell they're looking over across the course there, trying to shake them, doing the best they can. And again, they still have a little bit of course to play with here. So we will watch as they come through and get a little bit closer to the red buoys.
Pretty exciting stuff here. Always so fun whenever you see a boat have contact and overlap with another boat on the field. And there is a lot of looking over, which is pretty exciting and super fun, for the rowers that are in the boats. And typically there is an adage, to not look out of the boat. And there is a lot to be said for maintaining that internal awareness and just keeping everything about you and your boat. But there's also a sense of wanting to know what's going on with the field and really basing your moves and your sprints off of what the other teams are doing so that you can remain competitive. So it's an interesting dichotomy between trying to focus on your boat, but also staying aware of the other boats on the field. And if you have a coxswain, that's their job, and they can let you know without having to disrupt the boat by looking outside of your shell. But right now we're seeing, I think, a pretty clear first, second, third situation for this C final of the women's youth double sculls event.
Yeah, well, I think, like you said, it's how you internalize that, because in these blind boats where there is no coxswain, you have to look out. So you have to know exactly where you are. And you can tell by looking behind you, if the buoy colors change or if you see a bigger buoy that indicates maybe a 500, 1,000, 1,500 meter mark. But in order to know where you are in the race with everybody else, you really have to look out. So you will see that a few times, and that's where they have to practice their steering. And as we are looking at the screen now, we are seeing the stroke rates come up. Very impressive here by Rogue Rowing. They are really throwing it at them.
Yeah.
Eastside Prep trying to hold them off. They are on the defense.
Yeah, this is some fun sprinting here. Even though we don't have a lot of potential for dethroning the first place position, big props to anybody that's really willing to throw themselves in the hurt locker and experience the lactic acid. And always a good idea to sprint for that finish. So congrats to these boats.
Here we
see
go.
our 1 and our 2.
Eastside Prep and Rogue Rowing followed very closely by Lake Oswego.
Here they come, Lake Oswego in number 3. Big props to all these double sculls. I think that concludes the varsity double sculls finals for us today.
That's right. And I want to make a correction there. That was, as we called before, just in the last second, I said that incorrectly. That was Rogue Rowing in second and Lake Oswego in third there. So I meant the lanes there and I mixed those up. So my mistake indeed. But there you have it. Eastside Prep is your winner of the women's C final double. And we'll move on to the men's.